I don't really know what's going on. I'm really confused. Let me explain. I woke up today like any other day. I groggily composed myself and pushed myself off of my couch. I got a drink of water, washed my face, did my usual morning stuff. Sitting back down, I realized I have a headache, a sharp pain at the back of my skull, buzzing. Popping a few painkillers, I lie back down, drifting off to sleep again for what I plan to be a brief morning nap. I'm abruptly awakened by my phone vibrating. I pick it up, it's Lee. Just as I go to answer it, the vibrating stops. Maybe he'll call back. Whatever, I can't be bothered to form coherent sentences so early anyways. Looking at my phone, I see it's still 8 AM. I decide it's safe to let myself drift back off for a little. I blank out. Suddenly, I bolt upright. I check my phone, 10:46 AM. Shit, I didn't mean to sleep so long. I get myself some coffee, wash my face off again, and log into my social media. A few messages, I flip through some links of kittens, some music videos, and get to a message from Lee. It simply said, "Where are you?" Huh? I start to compose a reply, and suddenly, I hear a ring on the door. I woke myself over and opened it up before considering I was still in nothing but panties and a t-shirt. My concern for my mistake fades as I see nobody around. It's actually eerily quiet, but my Amazon package arrived, so that contented me to not think any further of the silence for the time being, coupled with the fact that it was far too cold for my current attire, or lack thereof. I grab my package and head back inside. Putting it on the table, I go over to my bedroom window. Dead silence outside. Weird, a Tuesday morning with no cars. Maybe they've closed off a nearby road? I think to myself. Not putting any more thought into it, I stroll back over to my package with a glee only a person who's just received something from themselves in the mail can have. Thinking on it, I don't remember ordering anything that I hadn't already received. I hope I didn't order this when I was drunk. The last time I bought myself something when drunk, sober me only got through half a pound of gummy bear before major regret and gastric distress set in. I feel the weight of the package, trying to remember what it may be, lightly shaking it. It's surprisingly light. Unable to play wait and guess any longer, I rip it open. There's a folded piece of paper in the box with "You've been chosen" written on it. Huh? I flip it open, the contents simply say, "Sorry." Double checking the box for anything else and then making sure it'd been delivered to the right address and confirming it had, I put the paper on the counter and dispose of the box. What had I been chosen for? I couldn't think of any reasonable explanation, so I did what any person would do in this situation. I logged into World of Warcraft. Playing with guildmates and raiding for a few hours, I notice it's getting dark outside. I start to get peckish and browse my fridge for something to eat. I find nothing more than a thing of strawberry yogurt and decide I need to go grocery shopping soon. Sitting back down, I notice I have a Skype message. Another message from Lee. Shit, I had forgotten to finish replying to him earlier. "Laura, are you alright?" he says. "I'm at home and I'm fine." "Why?" I reply. Still hungry and unable to continue the rest of the night without proper food, I throw on some clothes and make my way to my car. I turn my key once, twice, 9 times. The freaking engine won't start. Corner store chicken and microwave meals it is. I walk my way over to the local corner store. It's dark by now and it's still eerily quiet. Maybe it's too cold and everyone's just decided to stay home. I jokingly mutter to myself. I enter the store, also surprisingly empty. I grab a couple of microwave burritos and some cup noodles and make my way to the register. Something at the register catches my eye. Huh? A mannequin. I walk over and drop my stuff on the counter. "Hello?" I call back. No one answers. My stomach drops a little and I start to feel unreasonably afraid. I had seen enough horror movies to know better than to trust eerily quiet stores and mannequins out of place, especially considering I hadn't seen a living soul the entire day. I laughed to myself, calling myself an idiot for believing in horror stories. I dropped enough cash to pay for what I bought on the counter and left a note for the cashier when they got back, and then I walked back home. Getting home, I started eating my dinner, sitting back down in front of my computer. Another Skype message. I opened it, Lee responded. I came over earlier and you weren't home, or didn't hear me knocking for 5 minutes. You must be a really heavy sleeper, he said. I hadn't heard any knocking earlier, and I'm a notoriously light sleeper, but whatever. I must be. I did have a bit of a drink last night, haha, I replied. A faster response this time. I figured, so I dropped by a bit later too, earlier this afternoon, but it was pretty much the same. No one seemed to be home. Weird, I hadn't left the house aside from when I went to the store, and I hadn't had anyone come by aside from the unseen mailman. I've been home all day. Were you the one that left the weird package? I ask. A minute goes by waiting, and he replies, I didn't leave any package. Can I drop by? Sure, I could use the company, I reply, excited to actually see another person's face. I'll be there in 5, he replies. I wait around, pushing a few pillows around and throwing some trash away so I didn't look like a total slob. I get a text. I'm here, what's the gate code? I tell it to him and I get a knock on the door a minute later. I open it, no one's there. I text him, is this a joke? What are you talking about? Open up please, it's cold. He replies. Confused and a little angry, I text, this isn't funny. I'm practically standing outside. You aren't here. You knocked and left. Stop being an asshole and come inside. I wait a minute, then close the door. No response. I sit back down on my couch, angry. My phone vibrates. I check my phone. It isn't Lee. It's an unknown number. 3 separate texts. Don't open door. I'm afraid. I've been sitting here for an hour staring at the text, expecting someone to knock at the door. I'm certainly not opening it tonight. It's been 3 days now. I haven't seen another soul since. I've gone out, searching for a sign of humanity, a sound, a light, anything. But I haven't. I've been noticing something strange though. There seem to be mannequins everywhere I go. I went to stock up on food and saw mannequins just standing behind every register, motionless. At first, I was severely freaked out by them, but now they're strangely comforting. They're the closest thing I've had to human contact recently. I didn't leave any money this time after realizing that everyone was just gone. I figured I didn't need to waste my money. I also realized that I wouldn't even need money anymore. It was useless to keep my purse on me, yet I still do. Old habits die hard, I suppose. Nothing seems to be locked either. Every door, safe, or glass case I've tried has just been left unlocked. It's like the world has suddenly transformed to cater to my daytime fantasies of being the last person alive, but having everything still function on its own. But it's a lot more eerie and terrifying than it been in my imagination. You don't realize how much you need to see other people existing around you until they're gone. All of the buzzing, the sound of cars going by, the occasional plane in the sky, the sound of people just being alive near you does things to keep you sane I never realized was necessary until it was gone. The only thing keeping me hanging on is the fact that I still have the internet. People still exist, even if I can't see them. They're out there, somewhere. I went into my neighbor's house and took the pistol I know he keeps under his bed. He tried to use it as an unimpressive chat-up line once. Hey baby, if something bad ever happens, just come over to my place and I'll protect you. I've got a Beretta under my bed and I know how to use it, he says. Fucking creep. I don't know why, but I've been really scared lately, especially after the text I got the other night. I'm all alone and yet I feel like I'm being watched. The gun is comforting, at least. I haven't seen Lee since he tried to visit the other night. I sent him Skype messages, texts, calls, nothing. I haven't seen a sign of him since. I've tried to get in contact with others, but Lee was the only person I really knew that lived near me. All of my friends live in other countries, Serbia or Sweden. I can't really expect help from any of them, so I just pretend like all is well when I talk to them online. I even went so far as to call the police 4 times. The first 2 times they sent a car over. I heard the knocking, but when I opened it, no one was there. After that, I assumed they marked me down as a prank caller or something. I'm comfortable now. I have everything I need. I've driven as far as 4 hours and a number of cities away from where I live. No signs of life. I just hope I wake up one day and everyone's reappeared. And I can remember it as that time everyone in the world vanished. I awoke today to a knock on the door 2 nights after Lee vanished. I was up until 3 in the morning staring at the door until I eventually passed out. I had locked it and all, but I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of dread after the text I received. During the day, I feel safe enough to go outside, but during the night, I stare at the door until I fall asleep. Now that I've got my neighbor's pistol, I might feel a little more secure when watching the door, but I have this deep sense of fear of not watching the door at night. I can't sleep otherwise. Anyways, I awoke to the knock at the door, completely forgetting I was all alone. I walked over and opened it without thinking. Of course, no one was there, but there was something at the door. I walked into it, another package. I took it back inside, got a box cutter and opened it up. Another letter, identical to the first one, which is still sitting on my counter where I left it. This one reads, "You let it in the boldest black I had ever seen. I open it up and read the inside. It simply says, "Watching." My heart drops when I read it. My hand immediately goes to the gun I've been keeping on my waistline, and my eyes dart around. I lock the door. It's nearing on dark when I hear a noise, the sound of a gate opening and shutting. The first noise I've heard for days that wasn't nature or me. I rush to the window and peer out. It's Lee. It's actually him. My heart jumps. I'm afraid and excited at the same time. He's the first person I've seen in days. This doesn't make sense. I take my gun out and make sure it's loaded. I turn the safety off. I open the door and walk outside. I make my way towards the figure that looks just like Lee. He sees me. His face looks frightened. I don't know if it's the sight of me with a gun or something that's happened, but he continues to walk towards me, so I assume it isn't the gun. "Laura," he says as he walks towards me, or rather limps. I notice he's limping. "Lee?" I respond, lowering the gun. It's him. I'm positive now. He collapses. I'm on my couch now. Lee is asleep next to me. He looks real. He felt real, especially when I have to drag him up the stairs. He smells real. This is Lee. I feel so much safer with him next to me. Another human being. It feels like it's been so long. It's only been 3 days, but it feels like forever when you've been living in the nightmare I have. But there's a nagging feeling in the bottom of my stomach, a deep-seated sensation that I can't get to go away. Where did he come from? Where did he go after he stopped responding? Why is he murdering? Watching?
Number 2.
This story isn't about me. It's about my sister Allie. Allie is the type of girl everyone loved. Not only was she the most beautiful girl I've ever seen, she was also amazingly sweet. She dressed fashionably and also made sure to look perfect. Guys would fall in love with her instantly because she was everything a guy could want in a girl. She always had a positive attitude and a huge smile on her face. When we were younger, if I had a nightmare, I'd wake her up. She'd wake up and say, "What's wrong?" or "Are you okay?" And even as we got older, if I woke her up accidentally, that's what she'd say. I've never heard her be rude to anyone until one night. My family was staying in a hotel while in a different area. I woke up in the middle of the night and saw a figure standing over her bed. It looked like a human and its hand was on her head. I quickly switched on the light. The figure was gone and Allie grumbled, "Turn the light off, Casey. What is wrong with you?" I was stunned by this response, but thought I woke her up in the middle of a bad dream. It's important to note that she had nightmares consistently since she was a little kid. She even kept an extremely disturbing dream journal. I looked toward my brother sleeping on an air mattress on the floor, and he was still sleeping, but mumbling in his sleep, which wasn't exactly unusual. The next morning, I stood next to Allie in the bathroom and we washed our faces. I asked if she had any bad dreams last night. She smiled and said, "Nothing out of the ordinary." "Why do you ask?" She seemed to be back to herself, so I decided to drop it and blame it on a bad dream and my imagination. The next night, Ali and I went to bed early. We were still trying to adjust to the new time zone, and we had a really long day, so we said goodnight to our extended family who were hanging out in the lobby of the hotel and headed upstairs. We had only brought one key down with us, so we told our brother that we blocked the door from closing so he could still get in. Our parents were awake in the next room next door, so we didn't think too much of it. A little while later, we woke up to the door swinging open so hard it hit the back wall. We both looked at each other, and when we didn't see our brother walk through the door, we jumped up to see what it was. As soon as we got up, the room was filled with a horrible static noise so loud, my sister grabbed her ears and fell to her knees, screaming for someone to make it stop. I ran to get my parents, and when I came back with them, the static wasn't there, but my sister was having a seizure. She never had one before. We called an ambulance and she was taken to a hospital. They said everything checked out. She looked fine and suggested she sees a psychiatrist. When we got back to the hotel, my parents suggested we go home, but Ali wanted to stay and finish our vacation. We were alone in our hotel room again, and I asked her what happened. She started crying immediately and said, "Please don't ask me that. I wouldn't want you to even try to picture the things they did to me while I was there." I tried to ask her where she was talking about, but she doesn't want to talk about it. She's been a completely different person ever since. She's no longer energetic or friendly at all. She spends all her time alone and doesn't take care of her appearance anymore. This is about 6 months ago. We're going away for Thanksgiving and we have to stay in a hotel. I can tell she's panicked. I don't know what to do. I want to know what happened.
Number 3.
I won't say where I'm from or the company that owned the gas station, so nobody else goes out there out of curiosity. It was one of those gas stations in the middle of nowhere off the side of the freeway. If you've ever driven around the western US before, you'll know what I'm talking about. Working at that gas station was my first job out of high school, and it was about a half hour away from the town I grew up in. Nobody in town was hiring, so I was stuck having to drive the 40 miles in the early mornings and late nights, which sometimes sucks because defrosting your shitty second-hand car at 5 a.m. in an Idaho fall or winter is always a bad time. I started working there in July last year. Business was slow, so stocking and cleaning never took too long. The people that usually stopped there were people I knew from town going out to the next biggest town to see a movie, get dinner, or go to the mall, and the occasional trucker, farmer, or rancher buying a snack and a coffee on their way to deliver their cargo. One thing about this gas station was that we had a few sleeping bags, spare coats, 2 flares, a 72-hour kit, and a 2-way radio shoved into the maintenance closet. The reason for that was in case the closing employees were stuck there during a blizzard. They had something to sleep in and ways to get help if they got stuck there for longer than a day. The company didn't pay for them though. Apparently some guy who worked there a few years ago was a survivalist who just brought the stuff with him to work one day and then donated the supplies when he left. One day in January, 7 months after I started, I was sitting behind the counter watching the grainy TV above my head when I saw a line of text scrolling across the bottom of the screen. A blizzard warning was just issued for the county, and the residents were recommended that they stay inside. Minutes later, I got a text from my manager who had just taken the week off. He told me that I was welcome to stay at the station for the night if I didn't want to drive home. He also told me I would only get paid my normal hours though. I was the only one there since it was too slow to have more employees on the clock at this time of the year. Honestly, I really didn't want to drive home in my bad excuse for a car in a real blizzard. So I decided to buy what I could at the station and then enjoy the rest of the night in a heated room with my snacks. Around 4:30 p.m., it started getting dark. Once it was dark, I went to the maintenance closet to pull out the sleeping bags. When I was in the closet, I heard the bell ring at the front. You know, the one that rings when the door is opened. I was confused because I didn't think anybody would be dumb enough to be on the freeway with the storm and all. So I planned on offering to let the customers stay here for the night for their own safety. When I walked out of the closet and into the main area with the shelves and the counter, nobody else was in the station. I checked the bathrooms and peeked outside, but I didn't find anyone, and the only car parked outside was mine. I thought it might have been the wind, so I locked the front doors and then the back door for a good measure, and heated up 2 slices of pizza that we sold at the station, and poured myself a large coffee. It was completely dark outside, and the snow was coming down almost in chunks, and I could hear the wind blowing against the windows pretty hard. The only light came from the inside the station and the signs outside, above the door, on top of the pumps, and the big sign at the edge of the freeway. As I was sipping my coffee, I heard a loud click from the back area where the bathrooms were. I put my coffee down and started walking to the back, but stopped instantly when I heard whispering coming from behind the man's bathroom door. I couldn't make out what he was saying, but then I heard a second voice from behind the door whisper, "Quiet," loud enough for me to hear, and the whispering stopped. I could hear my pulse hammering in my ears at this point, and nearly screamed when I heard a car honk loudly outside. I ran to the front where I saw an all VW van parked out in front with its headlights on, and a clean-cut man in full Scoutmaster's uniform stepping out from the driver's seat. I unlocked the front door and let him in. "Thank God, I didn't think anybody would be here," he told me. "What were you doing out there? Heading back into town?" I asked. "Yeah, me and my boys left a camping trip over the weekend, and we got caught in the storm on our way back," he explained. I was confused. "But tonight's Tuesday night. School started yesterday, didn't it? Is it alright if I bring my boys inside?" he asked, ignoring my question. I nodded, and he went back outside and let out 6 boys from the van, all fully dressed in Boy Scout neckerchiefs, shirts, shorts, long socks, and boots. 2 of them were wearing dark green colored hats that looked kinda like upside down paper boats. I remembered my dad has one in his closet from when he was a scout. It looked even weirder that they had just got back from camping and weren't wearing any coats, and only the leader was wearing long pants. They all came into the gas station, and I locked the doors once everyone was inside. The wind had been blowing so hard and the snow was so heavy that now a good-sized puddle of water made of melted snow had pulled around the front doors. "Do you have a first aid kit? Kyle here has a sword that needs taken care of, and I forgot to bring out ours from the car," the Scoutmaster asked as the boys milled around the station, looking at bags of chips and cookies. I was happy to open the door again to let him get his own, but I didn't question it, since I guessed he didn't want to go back out without a coat. I walked over to the back room, and on my way, I checked the bathroom I heard the whispering in. There was nothing there, so I went to the closet to get the bandages and Neosporin. While I was fiddling around the 72-hour kit, the lights went out completely. It was pitch black. I fumbled around and grasped what I thought was a flashlight, but then noticed was actually one of the flares. I lit it quickly, and the orange-red light filled the closet and the small hallway outside. Right then, I heard the whispering again from behind the man's bathroom door down the hall. My heart jumped into my throat. I was sure now that somebody had broken in and could be a threat to the scouts and me. I walked down the hall and called out for whoever it was and told them I was armed. I heard 2 gunshots right then and ducked, but nothing happened. I then heard a small voice crying from behind the door. I quickly jogged up the door and pulled it open to find Kyle, one of the young Boy Scouts, standing buck naked and holding up a large revolver in front of the Scoutmaster, who sat with his pants down on the toilet with 2 fresh bullet holes in his cheek and eye. Kyle turned to me and said quietly, "He can't hurt me anymore." I fucking lost it. I ran out of the hallway, but before I could get to the doors, something tripped me and hit me really hard in the back of the head. I woke up sitting on my stool behind the counter, and the lights were now on in the station. No scouts, no scoutmaster, no flare. I had almost sweated through my shirt, and when I got off the stool, I could see my ass had made a sweaty imprint on the fake leather. After my heart had stopped hammering, I wrote things off as a really bad nightmare brought on by the shitty gas station pizza. The clock showed 8:30, so I decided to have some more coffee and try to stay up all night. What had happened had really rattled me pretty bad, and I didn't want to see anything else like that all night. I really fucking wish that was what had happened, but the night wasn't even close to being over. Hello everyone, Mr. Creepypasta here. I just want to take the time to thank all of you for your support. It's only been a month and a half since I've started this channel, but it's steadily growing, all thanks to you. I hope you all are having a wonderful weekend, and as always, thanks for watching. Stay safe.